Let's go.
Play great.
The minute that he signed with the Bucs and came in the division, you felt like that was going to be a team that had playoff aspirations and beyond, just like us. So I guess it was inevitable.
You know, we've both been around for quite a while, so we both still enjoy playing and competing. It's going to be a very competitive game.
We don't feel anybody! Okay, just like that! Give it to AK till he scores.
Stephen A., it's not just a football Friday, it's also a feel-good Friday. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into First Take. Thank you for spending part of your day here with us. Stephen A. Smith, Max Kellerman. I'm Molly Karen Rose, and fellas, I'm really pumped for this weekend. We've got 4 divisional games, and obviously the main event, Max, you know what it is, Brady Breeze. We'll get to those in just a minute, but first, fellas, I want to get your reaction to some news in the NFL. So let's start there, if you're cool with that. The New York Jets have reached an agreement in principle with San Francisco 49ers defensive coordinator Robert Saleh to be their next head coach. The deal is for 5 years. Saleh, who is a Lebanese American, will become the first Muslim head coach, mashallah, shout out to Dearborn, and the 4th minority head coach currently in the NFL. Meanwhile, Urban Meyer will head back to the state of Florida, but this time to coach the pros. He is the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stephen A., I like both these hires, so this is a tough one for you, but which one do you think is the better hire?
Oh, easily Urban Meyer. I mean, Seleh had the 17th ranked defense this year. It wasn't his fault, some injuries, and they were great against the run and the pass, just 17th in points allowed. But the bottom line is I get the fact that he could be inspirational. This is New York City. We'll see what he does. There's no question about Urban Meyer. There's no question about the greatness of Urban Meyer. Long before we knew who the hell Urban Meyer was, let's understand why he succeeded at the University of Florida. The man went 22-2 in 2 years at Utah, 10-2 the first year, 12-0 the second year, and a Fiesta Bowl win when I think he co-coached with Kyle Whittingham for the Fiesta Bowl because he was en route to Florida. And we know what he did at Florida, national championship. We know what he did at Ohio State, 2 national championships. We know that at Utah he won 91% of his games, and at Ohio State he won 90% of his games. This brother is elite. Wherever Urban Meyer goes, it's an upward move. The man is just brilliant at coaching the game of football, whether it's literally being a man amongst boys, you know, being that father figure, knowing his X's and O's, knowing how to inspire, to motivate, to maximize the potential around you. He's proven it on the collegiate level. Is the NFL different? Absolutely, it's different for most coaches, but the elite ones, it doesn't appear to matter in some cases. I think this is one of those cases. He's not just going to Jacksonville, but he's going to bring Trevor Lawrence with him, so they'll finally have a quarterback that they can rely upon and build around. And obviously, you don't have Tom Coughlin hovering over this organization, getting in the way with his drill sergeant tendencies that serve to alienate stars like Jalen Ramsey, Calais Campbell, and others. No, this is a situation where Urban Meyer and his impeccable resume speaks for itself, and I think that's a huge, huge deal, particularly in Jacksonville. Remember, Max, it doesn't matter the market in the National Football League. They've successfully gone about the business of accomplishing parity throughout. Small market teams, big market teams, it don't matter with a hard salary cap league or whatever the case may be. Bottom line is, when it comes to football, none of that is relevant in the National Football League. It's about your ability to coach and having the personnel around you. I believe in Urban Meyer, and I believe this is obviously the right job for him, particularly since he succeeded so much in Gainesville, and now Jacksonville is obviously not that far away. This is why he went back there. I think it's a great move.
Saleh is the better hire, and they're both good hires. Both teams did well here, but Saleh is the better hire for the Jets. And by the way, when the Giants were looking for coaching candidates, and, you know, Giants fans like me were hoping maybe they get to talk to him, maybe they hire him. Stephen A., there is something about a guy when you hear, first of all, he takes over a team with the defense ranked dead last in the NFL, the worst defense in the NFL. And within 2 seasons, they're a top 5 defense, like consistently, season over season. They're a top 5 defense. And then this year, okay, they're middle of the pack defense. They had a lot of injuries. It was a bizarre year with COVID and everything. Still a middle of the pack defense. There's something about that defensive guy, that D coordinator, who gets those kind of results and who sits in the meeting and wows everyone there, right? You and I always bring it up. Tomlin, What, Rick Tomlin got the job? Then you hear him talking, you go, okay, I get it. Well, he wowed us in the meeting. Yeah, no kidding. He gave you that sense, obviously. And Saleh is one of those guys, according to everyone, including, as has been widely reported at this point, Richard Sherman, who says, yeah, they got a good one. Players who he has coached, by reputation, what you're hearing about the impression he makes, and the results as a coach. Stephen A., all in the NFL. In the NFL, not in college. Now, I know the Jags are in a really good position. Urban Meyer inherits a good situation because while you can't really recruit in the NFL, that's a big part of coaching in college, he is sort of, in a way recruiting because they're going to use the pick on the best quarterback in the draft, on Trevor Lawrence. And that gives them an advantage. And it's been widely reported, or at least Adam Schefter's reported, they have $100 million in cap space. But guess what? The Jets have the second pick in the draft, and they have another first-round pick. They also have a lot of draft capital, and they have like $70 million in cap space. So they both inherit good situations. And while they're both good hires, after everything I just said about Saleh, you have to start to parse things and see where there's a little difference. Stephen A., Urban Meyer's managerial skills in terms of his staff and that was a controversy with Zach Smith that had him leave his last job, right? Well, that's a lot of being an NFL head coach.
Not fair.
It is.
That wasn't about football. I'm saying that wasn't about football. That was about some other things.
But that's part of it. That's part of it.
That could happen to anybody, Max.
I'll say this. Urban Meyer has twice left jobs when it got tough. And by the way, they were going in the wrong direction. Ohio State, when you look at how many bad losses they had, it's not that there were a lot of them, but the losses, wow, they lost that game. Their issues in the running game, that all happened in Urban Meyer's last season. Now, he was dealing with a lot, I understand. But that's the fact of the matter. And what you've seen is he takes off. So the Jags have a guy where they have to wonder, when the going gets tough, is he going to take off? Meantime, the Jets got a guy who's a rising star among coordinators, who everyone seems to think they got lucky to get, and who has NFL experience succeeding.
We'll see. We'll see. First of all, I want to say this. He's of Lebanese descent. That's my understanding. And they're saying that maybe he's the first Muslim Arab American, obviously, to be an NFL head coach. So from a diversity perspective, we should all be happy and very happy for him. I like the guy personally. Got a defensive background. First year defensively, 25th. Second year ranked 28th. Then they catapulted to 8, went to the Super Bowl. And then last year they fell off a little bit because of COVID. There's no question he deserves the job, and I'm happy for him. I'm just thinking that, what about Sam Darnold? You brought in a defensive guy. Hopefully that'll help Sam Darnold. We'll find out.
We'll see. They both look pretty solid to me, but you guys are the opinion makers here. Let's keep it rolling because we got a big one this weekend, and I cannot wait for that. The best game of the weekend, fellas, in my humble opinion, Brady Breeze, Bucs Saints. Drew is 5-2 versus Tom all time. New Orleans, a 3-point favorite. Max Kellerman. I love hearing you talk about Tom Brady, so I'd like to come to you first. Do you believe that he will pull off this upset in New Orleans?
I don't, and I do think it would be an upset, not just according to the odds makers. I expect the Saints to win. The Bucs are peaking at the right time. There's no question. They look like they're firing on all cylinders. But let's keep in mind, and I know it's hard to imagine. People think, can you imagine Tom Brady being beaten 3 times by a team in his own division who he knows he has to beat? Boy, that's hard to imagine. But in fact, what history bears out is if one team beats another twice in the regular season, they're going to do it again in the playoffs. Because the fact is, as hard as it is to imagine that you're going to lose 3 times, the fact that they lost twice to that team indicates they're not quite as good, or at least the matchup isn't good for them. First of all, Saints had a better record. Saints were the better team. And that was dealing with a catastrophic injury to Drew Brees. That was dealing with Michael Thomas not often available. Emmanuel Sanders not available at times. But now Drew Brees comes in with his full complement of weapons. And what was the issue in terms of the styles matchup for Brady and the Bucs with the Saints? It's that they have a front four that can get pressure on the quarterback. And Tom Brady, no quarterback likes pressure, but especially not Tom Brady. When you don't have to blitz, when you can just bring 4. And they can do it. The Saints can do it. They can get pressure on Tom Brady with their front 4. That's bad for Brady. And yes, Drew Brees has been less than great in the playoffs recently. But a lot of that seems to be that the attrition got to him. He's not a big, strong guy like Brady or these quarterbacks. He's a smaller guy. Like you can imagine the accumulation of punishment catching up. But maybe that was a silver lining in the injury. He didn't have to play football all those weeks. I expect to see a better rested, fresher Drew Brees now in these playoffs than we have in seasons past. And Stephen A., I expect Brees with his full complement of weapons and that defense that is twice so far pressured Tom Brady to do it again and win the game.
Max Kellerman, I don't disagree with anything that you're saying from a football standpoint. I have no argument to make other than this. I just have a feeling. You go down 24-7 before losing 34-23 in New Orleans in the season opener. We all know that, and New Orleans ran away with that game. The second time they go to Tampa and they just blitzed them on Sunday night. They were up 38-0 before the final score was 38-3. Tom Brady